Hi everybody, Al Bernstein here for the Boxing Channel. 2013 has been a terrific year for the sport of boxing. Just great matches throughout. And now as we continue into what looks like a spectacular fall, we get a great pay-per-view matchup between undefeated Tim Bradley and iconic champion Juan Manuel Marquez. This fight in Las Vegas on Saturday should provide lots of fireworks. Both men coming into this fight off of wins, but off of wins that had some rocky moments for them. For the 30-year-old Bradley, undefeated at 30-0, he comes in off a slugfest with Ruslan Provodnikov. It was a wild affair. Bradley was fighting off almost a 9-month layoff, and it showed. He was rusty in spots, and even though his offense was as good as we have ever seen from him, he was hit repeatedly with big shots by Provodnikov, nearly taken out in this fight, and said that it took him almost 2 months to truly recover from this beating. Will there be any after effects for him in this fight? As for the 38-year-old Marquez, he comes in off his big win over Manny Pacquiao. But it was a win, which also saw Pacquiao break his nose and look like he was headed toward a win in this fight until Marquez came up with a tremendous right hand that would knock Pacquiao out, give Marquez his 55th win as a professional against 6 losses and 1 draw, and also give Marquez his 40th knockout as a professional. He's a man who has been a champion in 3 weight divisions and is certainly a first ballot Hall of Famer. With that, let's go to the keys to victory. For Bradley, lateral movement is really important. If you stand right in front of Juan Manuel Marquez, he will time everything you do and counterpunch you very effectively. The jab is an important punch for Bradley because it will set up what? Combinations. And he's got to throw in combination in this fight. Now the older Marquez is sometimes frozen by really good combinations. Pacquiao did that a little bit in the last fight. He's got to throw a lot of punches, does Tim Bradley. As for Marquez, he can't allow Bradley just to move and follow him around the ring. He's got to cut off the ring and see if he can walk him down. Watch for the head. Well, that means watch out for Tim Bradley's head. Bradley has been known to have clashes of heads in almost all his fights, and you have to be aware of that during the course of any match with Tim Bradley. The overhand right is the punch that Marquez has landed many times, though the punch against Pacquiao was a straight right. What has landed against Bradley and landed many times in the Provodnikov fight is an overhand right, and we have seen Marquez use this punch before. It can be very effective. There are a couple of interesting subplots to this fight. One is that Tim Bradley, even though he's 30 years of age and has won 30 fights and never lost one, though many would suggest that he lost the fight to Pacquiao in which he got a decision, still, Bradley seems like he's always fighting for respect from the pundits in boxing and many of the fans as well. Tim Bradley's a really hard worker. He's one of the best conditioned athletes you'll ever see, and he hopes that a win over Marquez will finally get him over the hump with boxing fans and boxing experts so that they see him not just as a star or a budding star, but as a true superstar of the sport. As for Marquez, at age 38, he is talking about the fact that this might be his last fight in the sport. And sometimes when fighters say that before a final fight, they're not quite as highly motivated. And when things get really rough, they're not so anxious to go on. Now, Marquez has a warrior mentality that he's shown over and over again in the ring, so you would think that might not be the case. The other wild card in this fight, and it has to be mentioned, is the fact that Tim Bradley's very concerned about the testing that's been done for this fight and the idea that Juan Manuel Marquez may be using some sort of performance-enhancing drugs. Clearly, it was a different-looking Marquez that we saw against Pacquiao in his last fight, and some have suggested, though there are no grounds at this moment for the allegations other than the eye test, that Marquez, in fact, was using performance-enhancing drugs. Again, there's no way to completely prove that or disprove it at this juncture, but clearly it's an issue in Tim Bradley's mind, and I don't think he's 100% happy with the drug testing methods that are being used in this fight. Will that have an impact on his performance? So there's a lot to be discussed about this fight, and we'll be discussing it all week leading into this match. We'll have quote coverage of everything during the week, including the weigh-in and the final press conference, and of course, immediate post-fight coverage on the Boxing Channel. The fight can be seen on HBO Pay-Per-View, and it should be a good one.